Hi guys, welcome back. So Eddie Jones survives. We have an RFU review, which a lot of it is just kind of wordy management speak as to the non-specific things they're going to do. But the bit I was interested in are the reasons, the factors that they thought contributed to the subpar performance of the England team, as they put it. So I'm going to go through those and kind of say what I think about them. Now, of course, in international rugby, there are never excuses. There's never an excuse. It doesn't matter what happens. If you lose, you lose. You win, you win. There's always ups and downs. So I never go in for excuses. But as I always say, there are reasons as to why things happen. So I want to see if these things here are actual reasons or if they're kind of a bit made up and they're actually things that could have been avoided rather than kind of unavoidable reasons. Okay, and also, I remember when I talked about should Eddie Jones be sacked now or later or whatever, I certainly thought that it didn't make sense to sack him now, even though you could make an argument for it. Most of you agreed, but some of you did want him gone, but it looks like he's staying. So, the reasons they thought that England performed so poorly or subpar were the coaching problems they had. And these, I agree with, are actual reasons they couldn't have had anything to do with. Jason Riles, Neil Craig, they couldn't get in. Proudfoot was unavailable. Eddie Jones was isolated. Initially, those two were isolated and unavailable. So that was a disruption. Definitely nothing they could have done about it. So, yeah, fair enough. They were reasons, but again, never an excuse because the French certainly had a lot of disruption in their build-up and they nearly won the thing. So, anyway, player preparation and availability. I don't know about that one. They said a handful of notable players were unavailable. Well, I mean, come on, that happens all the time. Every Six Nations campaign, there are some players not available, and a handful, it really was a handful. It wasn't that many at all. So I think that is a rubbish reason that can be discarded. Players not having enough game time. Well, yeah, obviously that was a problem, but it really didn't have to be. I know it's hindsight and all of those things, but in that first game against Scotland, where England was so slow, a lot of the players who had poor game time had shockers, and to be fair, a lot of others who didn't had as well. But, Farrell was very rusty, George was rusty, Billy was atrociously rusty, but they were avoidable. They could have hidden those players in the squad. I know it's a small squad, but they could have hidden them, say got Billy up to speed for a month or so training and then pulled him into the bench. So it was avoidable. He took a risk. It went off badly, but they haven't really said that as the reason that they played unfit players or badly prepared players, just that the preparation wasn't available. So yeah, I'm not so sure about that one as an acceptable reason. Breakdown in discipline, improvements were required, including lower body strength and skill modifications. I mean, come on. These players know how to work at the breakdown. Sure, you can get better, but they are perfectly capable of operating skill-wise at the breakdown. And lower body strength, I mean, rubbish, really. The amount of factors those play into them giving away penalties is so low. The majority of the time, you either choose to do something or you don't choose to do something. At the international level, everyone is physically capable of doing these things. It's just when you choose to do stuff, and if you want to go into a ruck or nod or put your hands in or whatever it is, most of it is like 90% odd is choice, and so that's just a rubbish one as well. COVID, stringent protocols, yeah, okay. I think this one is fair enough. The agreement with the clubs was that England had a much smaller squad than everyone else, which I think was a reason that they had nothing, they couldn't do anything about. And certainly replacing players in that squad was a problem, a little bit. Certainly, I'm sure they would have pulled in Sam Underhill when he became available again, but they couldn't. So that was a blow, but I mean, the Six Nations was gone before then, but anyway, whatever. But they did have a chance to pull in an extra forward into the squad, and they chose to pull in George Martin, who I think is a great future prospect. Really like the guy. I want to make that clear. But they could have pulled in someone who could have made an impact there and then, Simmons or a Dombrandt or whoever, and they didn't. So again, that's a 50-50, that one. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of wind in there, really. How close were they to sacking Eddie Jones? Well, I've said in the past it didn't make sense. To who's available to come in. I don't think they'd have a full roster. How much would it cost for them to get rid of him? That's an interesting question, depending on the break clause in his contract. So I don't know. Anyway, I think it's the right decision, but I think a lot of this is kind of just papering over the cracks or kind of just sweeping things aside, whereas the real issue was the way that England approached this Six Nations and some of the really bad decisions that they made. So let me know what you think about that one. Eddie Jones stays, and I will catch you guys next time.